Hi guys, my name is Joe, and welcome to Media Fight Mondays. So on the first and third Monday of every month, I review a fight scene from TV, movie, or animation. And this week we're taking a look at the final fight scene from Lethal Weapon 1. So Lethal Weapon 1, made in 1987, and the fight scene we're going to watch is between Mel Gibson's character, Riggs, and Mr. Joshua, played by Gary Busey. The two actors did most of their stunts, especially for the close-up stuff. Um, there, there were sort of like informal fight choreographers and consultants on this. This fight scene's pretty famous for the finish, which is, spoiler alert, by triangle choke. And Horian Gracie, who was one of the founders of the UFC, had some input in that. There was also David Newsom, who brought in a style called Jailhouse Rock. According to, I guess, oral tradition, it's a prison fighting style. So lots of elbows, lots of headbutts. And there was also a capoeira consultant for some of this by the name of Cedric Adams. So I honestly haven't seen the movie, but from what I gather, the tipping point for this whole thing is Joshua and Riggs are both considered kind of not entirely there. Riggs, in particular, is actually having a crisis. He is having suicidal ideation, and he's been very wild and unpredictable throughout the film. And the idea, I guess, is that these guys are two sides of the same coin, and they have Joshua dead to rights. Riggs and his partner Murtaugh, and they could totally arrest him here. Riggs sets his firearms aside and offers Joshua what he refers to as a shot at the title. So here we go. I have slowed down the film a little bit because on my first watch through there was a lot of choppiness going on, a lot of things going on that the camera wasn't really conveying. So I hope by slowing it down we can see some of that. So looks like a side kick, ducks a hook, gets a leg sweep. We get a grab and a headbutt by Joshua. There's a lot. It's just really hard to see what's happening. Looks like a lot of upper body technique. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Again, it's dark, so strikes going on that look like a body shot maybe. So that's like an outside crescent kick. Very unusual. An uppercut maybe, ducks a hook, elbow to the body, elbow, there's another elbow. Like I said, I think that's like the Jailhouse Rock influence. He gets knocked back, grabs him in a headlock, picks him up. So yeah, Joshua disposes him with headlock. Looks like he's punting him on the ground. So we're back to our feet. We're in a standoff. Their hands are kind of low. It's another uppercut. Looks like a backhand. Elbows. Is that a jumping knee? Grabbing the head, another headbutt. Another headbutt in return. Again, big punches. All right, jumping front kick. That was clear. So we're seeing a lot of elbows by Riggs. Joshua grabs a pole. Riggs, not a bad idea to use his shirt as a weapon. He ducks a pole, ducks it again, ducks it a third time, kind of redundant. Throws him a police baton. Now, the police baton that is used in the United States, I don't know if it's used elsewhere. It's actually based off of the Okinawan weapon known as a tonfa, which was, as I understand it, originally a handle, meant to go on something. With that being said, there's also a very similar weapon from Thailand that there's a grip and it goes along the bottom of the arm, but it's strapped onto the arm. It doesn't quite extend as far. He's blocking the shot. That's a good use of that. He's going to have to use his muscles to sort of do that if he's not going to reinforce his arm. But it's better to take the blows on that the police baton, which is going to be able to tank the damage compared to a human forearm. So that's not a bad idea. It's actually pretty good. Knocks him down, spins the baton a little bit, blocks it again, and backhand? Okay. Now we're back to empty hand. So, left punch. Ooh, fireman's carry into a slam. We're in a tussle, and Joshua tosses Riggs. Joshua's got like a half Nelson, and he's grabbing Riggs by the hair and trying to basically drown him. Which isn't bad. Tactically, it seems like a pretty good idea to employ anything in your environment. And I mean, again, they've got him dead to rights. I guess he doesn't see that there's going to be any downside to adding another body to his list, adding another murder charge. But yeah, okay. Back to the fight. You should use the environment to your advantage, and while drowning someone in most cases is just going to straight up be murder, and I would not recommend it or condone it, I do think it's a good example of being in a lethal force encounter and using your environment to your advantage. The water's not deep, but it doesn't have to be. Just, you got to cover like the nose and the mouth, so you just got to shove his face like that far in and just wait. He's fighting back, rolls on top. And this is where the jiu-jitsu comes in. You can see this is like a classic framing against a headlock. Guess he's going to go for an armbar. Yeah. It's kind of a sloppy armbar. It's no surprise he gets out of it. Inside the guard, throwing punches. And now he starts hooking up a triangle choke. And it was, frankly, a very slow setup. But, doesn't look too bad. I don't know what Joshua's trying to do here. You're not gonna, you're not gonna get out of a triangle choke really by standing up and trying to drive in. The things you can do, like picking the guy up and slamming him, or changing your angle really fast, but that particular response, I don't know. Maybe the idea was, despite the fact that we've seen him just straight up slam Riggs a couple of times, maybe the idea is he's in a position where he can't lift him up. We would actually see that become a famous spot in movie fights in the aughts. I'm pretty sure the inspiration for that was actually a mixed martial arts fight between Quentin Jackson and Hikaru Arona, where Arona hooked up a triangle choke on Jackson, and Jackson just I guess it would be like a clean, but just snapped him above his head, came back down, and knocked him out with a slam / headbutt combination. Their heads collided. It was probably mostly the slam, and knocked him out cold. That was a famous spot. It seems to be making its way into, movie fights since then. This predates that by like a decade and a half. So we're not seeing that here. And I guess the idea is he could absolutely break his neck. I think he did that earlier in the movie. I think that was referenced. But, you know, decides to choke him unconscious but leave him alive. So I'm going to grade this once again on realism and um, and storytelling. As far as the realism goes, it's not bad. You know, this is sort of like a scrappy technical fight. You know, a technical brawl, perhaps. What we see in this is some things that definitely make sense. If there's open space, why not use kicks? It's a good idea. If you're in close, use elbows and headbutts. I do think the elbows to the body, you know, not a big fan of, you know, he was hitting the upper rib cage basically. And it's not like that will not hurt necessarily. I mean, you know, if you do it to your buddy right now, they'll probably be upset at you for doing it, but it's hardly debilitating. You know, it's not a good target. It's protected by, you know, some of the largest muscles in the upper body, and the rib cage itself is designed to protect, you know, the heart and the lungs. When attacking targets on the torso, it's typically better to go below the rib cage. You know, you got the liver, the solar plexus, you know, the short ribs, the kidneys. Him throwing those shots, I don't think was a great idea. You know, I think that there were better targets for Riggs to target with his elbows. Um, Joshua picking him up and slamming him made a lot of sense. I think hoisting somebody up in a fireman's carry, if you're in the middle of a fight and just like carrying them over to something, I think if someone's even close to your size, they're probably going to be, you know, throwing elbows or knees at your head in the middle of that. You know, as a throw, the fireman's carry isn't meant to be like a lift and carry around. You know, it's meant to like pull the guy over your shoulder and dump like that. You know, it's, you know, you barely touch the shoulder before you hit the ground. So I don't think that was necessarily all that realistic. Um, yeah, I don't know. I have criticisms. Overall, I don't think it's bad. I think they use the appropriate techniques at the appropriate ranges. I think that generally, um, even though Riggs' fighting style is very unconventional, I do appreciate that these moves make sense for the characters. Realism, C plus. That's being kind of harsh, but I'm gonna keep it. As far as the storytelling goes, this is this isn't great because a lot of the action, just the lighting is terrible. You know, Richard Donner is an incredible director, but this particular, you know, fight scene, the choreography involved is just, it's hard to see what's going on. And as I understand it, Mr. Donner actually had like a handheld camera to film some of this, and that would explain some of the shakiness and all that. For a lot of the scenes, it's difficult to tell what's going on. So for me, the story is hard to really get a hold of. You do have a few like spots that work, like, you know, Riggs getting dumped in the car, and, you know, Joshua trying to drown Riggs, and, you know, they get into the Christmas tree area, and, you know, Joshua picks up the pole and starts taking swings at him. So there are key moments that you can see stuff very well, and I think like as micro stories, those work well. You know, here's the weapons fighting sequence: a pole versus a police baton. Um, Sort of got excited when, like, you know, his shirt was wet. He took it off and he was swinging it around. I thought he was going to use that. I'm a little disappointed we didn't see a whole lot with that, because you don't have something that can do a whole lot of damage, but it's basically a weighted flail, and I think it could be used defensively. I know in you know, it sort of harkens back a little bit to the gladiator days when some of the gladiators had, you know, like a net that they would throw, or to the Renaissance when they, you know, if they were engaged in a rapier duel, sometimes in their offhand they would have a cloak. So, I got a little bit excited, like, how are we going to see clothing used in a fight? And unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot with that. Um, so I think that was a wasted opportunity. It had some good moments within it, but overall, there was a huge chunk of the fight that we just couldn't see well. What was the story telling? This is chaotic. Fights are chaotic. Okay, then why is it cleaner later? There's no consistency, I guess, with the feel of the fight scenes, and it was also intercut a lot with people running around and the other cops showing up and all of that, and the focus wasn't on what was going on in the fight for a lot of the fight. So storytelling wise, C minus, and the only reason it's not lower is because I could sort of divide the latter part into like little chunks. The getting ready to drown him scene, and the pole versus baton scene, and then the final ground fighting scene. I think that helped. I wish there had been more of that we could visually pick up. Like I said, it was earlier in the fight, just total chaos. Couldn't really see what was going on. So I appreciate some of the moments they had, but overall, taken as a whole, I just feel like it was a little bit lacking. So C's aren't bad. C is passing. D is passing. But yeah, overall, I appreciate that there were a bunch of martial artists who contributed to this, and you can see like little bits and pieces of the capoeira with the kicks, and the jiu-jitsu with the armbar attempt and the triangle, and the headbutts and elbows going into the Jailhouse Rock stuff. I don't know if there was a better way to. I think there was. I think that there would have been a better way to show that all together. And I understand that might get into the realm of, well, this is sort of an artificial setup. I mean, we had that for the latter part of the fight. I wish that we had gotten to see more clean footage of what they were doing in the beginning, because I think that this had the potential to be such a great fight scene. We got some memorable moments, but we didn't get what could have been. And, hats off to the actors for doing a lot of their own work in this. But anyway, that's all I have for this week. Well, for this Media Fight Monday. Now, I will credit Kyle Hagen, one of my subscribers, who I actually know IRL. This was his suggestion. I guess in that sense, this is sort of dedicated to him. Kyle, this is for you. Now, also remember, guys, this is the week of Black Friday, so my Friday video is actually going to be on every martial arts / book / fitness equipment related sale that I can find. So I'm going to basically, I have no Thursday plans, so I'm just going to find every sale that I can that's going on Black Friday. Again, this is going to be publishers like Tambuli Media, video instructionals like the BJJ Fanatics group, equipment like Century and Tidal. I'm going to find whatever sales I can find out there, and be on the lookout for that for this Friday's video. And thank you for watching this video.